Tonight's show is about politicians in some ways. It's about the ruling class in others. It's about democracy. And it is a bit, because politicians, I mean, my views on politicians are fairly well known. I stay away from them as a rule, because I don't really like them, which is obvious. But they're a little bit like your own farts. Every now and then you need to smell it just to confirm. Fucking hell. You know, that kind of... So, what happened was, I got an email. It's from this bloke. And it said, would you, Mark Thomas, be prepared to come and give evidence at a select committee in the House of Commons? And I'm like, no, this is a wind-up. I've looked again. I said, it's a public administration. Would you come and give evidence? And I thought, OK. And so we looked at what they'd asked me to look at was public bodies, Quangos. That's what they said. They're looking at patronage. They're looking at Quangos. They're looking at the appointment system. Would you come and talk to us about it? So I did a bit of reading on it. And in 1996, Tony Blair said that he was going to consign the Quango State to the dustbin of history. And I had a look in that dustbin. Rummaged around, found all sorts of things like Haircut 100, but Quango State, not there. And Quangos are incredible because they're basically quasi-autonomous public bodies. They're non-government bodies. They're committees, they're advisory councils. They're kind of... there's about 1,000 of them. There's 30,000 people who sit on them. They get paid millions, these councils, just to function, these public bodies. They've actually got in charge of budgets of billions. And you read through the people who are on these on these committees and public bodies, and it's like, you know, Lord this and Lady that and Sir so-and-so and knighthoods and OBEs and PhDs and professors. And it's like, basically it's like the Queen's New Year's honours list without the lollipop lady from Deptford that they always kick her on so the Queen can have a laugh, I think. And I was thinking, you know, where's the accountability? They get to determine government policy on occasion. They've got more power than MPs. And some of the committees are just a laugh. They have the Government Wine Committee. And their job is to pick the wines for state occasion. And that's an honour. I'm on the wine committee. They just sit in a room that's marvellous, very good. Oh, work. What about this one? Oh, that's very good, this one. Oh, I've got a hint of dormitory, a bit of rugger short, and yet a whiff of New Labour corporate sponsorship. But some of these committees they're in charge of millions, hundreds of millions of quid. You get committees who are in charge of massive amounts of money and have huge amounts of power, like the Competition Commission, which used to be the Monopolies and Mergers, or the Medical Research Council. You know, they're in charge of fucking loads of money. And so what we thought was, let's have a look at how accessible and accountable and open to the public these bodies are. So... Lord Nolan, do you remember Lord Nolan? After the Tories were shoveling money around in brown paper envelopes and it was kind of like Archerville / you know, all the rest of them, Hamilton and all that lot. Nolan did this big thing on sleaze and public life and he published his report, which was he published the 7 principles of public life. It's kind of sweet, isn't it? It's a bit kung fu. You know? David Carradine, you must learn the 7 principles of public life. But they've got the 7 principles of public life, which are brilliant, which are integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, leadership, grumpy, sneezy, doc. I've missed out the first one, selflessness. Sorry about that. Those are the 7 principles, and they inform all the codes of practice on how you should behave in public life if you're on one of these committees or public bodies. And what they say is basically all public bodies should have a register of members' interest. Public bodies should make registers of interest open to the public. Board members should be required to update them as changes occur. They should note down all the places where they have financial interests in, right? This should include, as a minimum, personal, direct and indirect pecuniary interests. So any jobs, any grants, any sponsorships, all that kind of stuff, they should write down. Their directorships, all of it. So that we can make up our minds if there is a conflict of interest occurring, in whose interest they are working. So we thought, we're going to go forward to the committee. Let's do a little bit of research on this. Let's get out the register of members' interest for the committees, look through all the people who are on these boards, 50 boards we picked. We looked through everyone on it, nearly 1,000 people. We went to Companies House and we got out just their directorships. Just their directorships, not grants, not shareholdings, not spouses' interest, nothing like that. Just their directorships, and we mixed the two things together to see if they would make a complete whole. There were more bits missing than an Oxfam jigsaw. We found, on average, every committee had 2 to 3 people whose register didn't match what was coming out of Companies House. That's quite a few, we thought. And as a snapshot, that's not very good. We'd phone up committees and say, hello, can we have a look at your publicly available register of members' interest? Why? Well, because we can. Why is that? What do you want? Well, because we're entitled to. We're members of the public. We can sit. What do you want it for? Well, just to have a look through. Strangers! Get the fires going. Get the fires going now. They probably told you not to come up on the moor alone, didn't they? Now, we phoned up the Competition Commission and said, we'd like to see register of members' interest because you deal with, you know, monopolies and mergers. You deal with conflicts of interests in industry. We'd like to see it. Well, we deal with it on an ad hoc basis. No, we'd like to see the publicly available register. Oh, no, you just don't understand. We deal with it on an ad hoc basis, you know, and we're in the process of compiling a register. Oh, so you haven't got one? No.
What I think you should do is I think you should email me with the list of names of our members who you
Well, no, you're the person here who's...
I mean, you have concerns about.
You're the person who says to me you don't need a register of members' interest, do you? You're saying to me that you do not need one. That's basically what you're saying.
Yes, I am saying that at present. That is correct.
And they said, well, we insist that you mention several things. You insist that we mention that we are absolutely, you know, 100% on the case when we're looking at individual members' conflicts of interest when they're dealing with casework. And we insist that you tell people that we're getting a register ready that's going to be publicly available soon. They said, that's fine, but you haven't got one now, have you? Then we came across this other bloke called Ewan Baird, who's on the Council for Science and Technology. This one's chaired by Patricia Hewitt, who's from the Department of Trade and Industry. And he forgets to mention that he is a non-executive director of Scottish Power, which is quite important if you're on the Council for Science and Technology. Scottish Power could be seen as a conflict of interest. I mean, I'm not an expert, but... and